After enduring 3 years of strict zero-COVID policies, China's economy has plunged into a persistent downturn, alarmingly extending its impact to the military. In communist China, the military is a key tool for threatening and suppressing the populace. Therefore, some scholars believe that the regime could collapse once the CCP is unable to afford the operational costs of the military and police. Recently, overseas Chinese media received leaks indicating a reduction in the income of Chinese military personnel. Mr. Hua, a retired officer who turned to business, mentioned that many of his comrades in the army have lost several allowances, with some not receiving any for up to 6 months. Mr. Hua further noted that everyone is short of money now, including many civil servants whose salaries have been affected. The pensions of retired elderly people are not being paid on time and are subject to delays. Many people's salaries have been delayed by half a month or even a month, and this is also the case for state-owned enterprises. Mr. Tsai, a retired soldier, revealed that around 2015 to 2016, their salaries were not high, just a few thousand yuan per month, with those serving for over a decade earning about 6,000 yuan. Allowances were settled separately and typically amounted to a third of the salary. In China, military income includes basic salary, welfare, and allowances. For example, soldiers stationed in harsh and cold places like Tibet receive additional heating allowances. In the southern province of Fujian, soldiers get heat allowances and camp fees during the summer. Especially for conscripts and volunteers, their income during service mainly consists of allowances and subsidies, and they only receive a salary after being promoted to non-commissioned officer positions. Additionally, local governments provide one-time rewards and family preferential payments to compensate for the loss of labor in soldiers' families during their service. The standards for these preferential payments vary by region. Legal experts point out that these military expenses are actually borne by local governments, not fully included in the central government's military budget. However, the current economic downturn has led to a decrease in financial revenue for both local and central governments, increasing fiscal pressure and consequently leading to cuts in the military budget, thereby affecting internal military salaries. Hence, there are rumors of military personnel losing many of their allowances. In recent years, to achieve anti-corruption in the military and the so-called strong army dream, CCP leader Xi Jinping has intensified control over the military. He clearly stated, in the future, officers' income should mainly come from salaries, and there should be no other so-called gray income. Following this directive, the CCP implemented salary adjustment plans in 2014, 2018, and 2021. Particularly in 2021, military officers' salary increases were 20% higher than that of civil servants, generally surpassing compensations of local civil servants. Why Xi Jinping is doing this is mainly because he wants to take care of the military first to defend the regime and his power. Therefore, the emergence of recent salary cuts in the military raises alarms about the overall economic situation in China. There are also reports that even military research institutions have had salary cuts. Posts appeared on Chinese social media stating that research institutes in aerospace, electronics, shipbuilding, and weaponry have started cutting salaries by 5 to 30%. However, these posts have now been deleted, and earlier posts about salary cuts in military research institutes have also disappeared. Coincidentally, in April 2022, an anonymous netizen posted online that they joined the 41st Institute of the 6th Academy of Aerospace Science and Industry in 2020. From July to December 2020, they earned about 10,000 yuan per month before taxes. From January to June 2021, the average was around 8,000 yuan. From July to December 2021, it dropped to around 6,000 yuan, plus annual performance bonuses. The salary kept decreasing each year. A netizen who works in the aerospace manufacturing industry posted on the online forum Jihu that his company cut salaries this year. The aim was to prioritize protecting new employees who joined within the last 3 years, retaining core staff and important projects. Therefore, the main targets of the salary cuts were older employees in basic and peripheral departments. The reduction varied greatly, with some experiencing only a 10% cut, while others faced a 50% reduction. Salaries have reverted to the levels of 4 to 5 years ago, and the company has offered no explanation or consolation. It seems to signal to everyone, if you want to stay, stay. If you want to leave, leave. We won't be distressed if you don't work. Under such economic conditions, many people can only swallow their grievances and reluctantly accept reality. Current affairs commentator Wen Zhao points out that China's weapons research institutions are affiliated with the China North Industries Group Corporation, and those in the aerospace sector are under the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. These major companies are directly managed by the State Council and are considered mega-state-owned enterprises. These research institutions essentially serve military purposes, but their expenses are not covered by the national defense budget. In other words, their funding is not categorized under national military spending, but falls under the budget of other departments of the State Council. Therefore, organizations like the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute speculate that China's actual military spending is 2 to 3 times more than the publicly reported defense budget. Consequently, if there is widespread salary reduction in military research institutes, it can be seen as a pay cut for some of the military's civilian personnel. However, the extent of this salary reduction wave is still unknown. It's important to note that economic difficulties could lead to the government tightening its investments in armaments, potentially lowering the research and production standards of military equipment. This could result in quality issues with produced missiles and core military hardware. Coincidentally, Bloomberg recently exposed a significant secret, revealing that U.S. intelligence discovered severe corruption within the CCP's rocket force and the entire national defense industrial base. U.S. intelligence assessments list instances of corruption in the CCP's military, including missiles filled with water instead of fuel and missile launch wells in western China that are ineffective. Indications suggest that the CCP authorities are conducting a comprehensive purge of the Chinese military, particularly the rocket force. There were speculations that CCP leaders might have discovered issues with the equipment or deployment of the rocket force, leading to this purge. U.S. assessments believe that internal corruption in the CCP's military has led to a decline in its overall capabilities, especially those of the rocket force. The widespread nature of this corruption has led U.S. officials to judge that the likelihood of the CCP undertaking significant military actions in the coming years has diminished. Historical examples from other countries regarding military salary adjustments can provide insights. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia faced an economic crisis, leading to frequent issues with funding shortages and salary delays in the military. This negatively impacted the Russian military's combat readiness and recruitment. The economic hardship also delayed the modernization of military equipment. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, the U.S. government implemented a series of austerity measures to cope with economic difficulties, including reducing military expenditures and salaries. This put financial pressure on military personnel and their families, adversely affecting military capabilities. Currently, not only the Chinese military but also local police officers are facing salary payment issues. Since 2023, there have been reports of pay cuts for Chinese police officers. Multiple sources within the system revealed to Radio Free Asia that police in cities like Tianjin, Nanjing, and Dalian have faced salary cuts of up to 20%, a situation that emerged post-pandemic. Miss Bai, a retired soldier, disclosed that the deputy head of a police station in a coastal city in mainland China told her that all personnel had their salaries reduced. Miss Bai pointed out that in Chinese police stations, salaries consist of basic wages and performance-based wages, the latter related to tasks such as enforcing anti-gambling and anti-prostitution laws. However, the basic salary of police officers is generally low. Currently, in China, various industries are facing difficulties, and the economic situation is dire. Salary reductions have become a common phenomenon, as the police are an essential part of the CCP's stability maintenance system. If their income continues to fall short of expectations and fails to cover normal living expenses, will they remain willing to serve the CCP? If they become unwilling, the regime's rule may become unsustainable. Analysts point out that the reduced compensation of CCP military personnel and police officers not only reflects the financial difficulties of the CCP authorities, but could also lead to insufficient incentive mechanisms. This may result in military personnel and police officers, like local bureaucrats, opting to lie flat. Chinese democracy activist Wang Juntao stated that although many believe Xi Jinping holds significant power post-20th Party Congress, the entire officialdom has begun to lie flat, with a lack of new blood in the bureaucratic system. This presents Xi Jinping with his weakest moment. Political and economic observer Fan Chou believes that the financial strain of China is closely linked to the stability of the CCP regime. Financial difficulties could impact government operations and social stability, particularly the military and police forces that maintain the regime. Therefore, Fan Chou has proposed a perspective on post-CCP China. This viewpoint emphasizes that one of the cornerstones of CCP rule is financial support. If various administrative units at all levels fall into fiscal deficits and the central government cannot fill the gap, then the CCP's rule will face collapse. Fan Chou believes that if local governments, the military, and other administrative units cannot pay salaries, and this financial crisis persists for 24 months, it will be the clearest signal of the beginning of post-CCP China. Evidence shows that financial strains across China are increasingly evident. Several major economic provinces, facing fiscal exhaustion, have led to public servants being owed wages or receiving pay cuts. Since 2022, schools and public institutions in Tianjin have successively canceled performance bonuses and weekend overtime pay. In 2023, widespread salary arrears have become a common occurrence. A well-known entrepreneur pointed out that Tianjin's finances are in a state of bankruptcy, and the only apparent solution seems to be increasing taxes. However, this measure has proven unbearable for businesses. Similar economic difficulties are rapidly intensifying in places like Shanghai, creating a sinking ship effect. Further reports revealed that in Lishui and Gaochun districts under Nanjing's jurisdiction in Jiangsu province, salary arrears for public servants and public institution employees have become severe, lasting up to about 3 months. To address this crisis, local governments have turned to administrative directives, coercively enforcing financial redistribution among city districts, managing only to partially alleviate the wage problems. Even Guangdong, a strong economic province, is facing serious financial difficulties. The authorities have significantly cut the salaries of retired personnel, with reductions exceeding 1/3. This policy has noticeably impacted the lives of retirees. Moreover, as early as July 2021, there were reports on Weibo and other social platforms about a 25% salary cut for public servants in Guangdong. Many netizens have commented that the trend of salary cuts among doctors, teachers, journalists, and police officers indicates that China has entered an era of nationwide salary reductions. Faced with the continuous economic downturn, the Beijing authorities seem to be at a loss. In response to questions about fiscal policy for 2024, Finance Minister Lan Foan said that austerity must be practiced, emphasizing the need to save money where possible, not to spend recklessly, and to concentrate financial resources on major issues. He also called for resolute investigation and punishment of illegal and irregular activities. Lan Foan noted that in early 2023, the fiscal deficit ratio was originally planned at 3%. However, due to disasters like heavy rain, floods, and typhoons in various regions, an additional 1 trillion yuan in government bonds was issued in the fourth quarter, raising the fiscal deficit ratio to around 3.8%. Political commentator Wang He believes that despite Lan Foan's nearly 20 years of experience in the fiscal system and 8 years in auditing, he lacks central government experience. Facing the continually declining economic situation, he also appears to have no solution. China is currently grappling with an economic dilemma, marked by fiscal strain and the looming threat of a local debt crisis, escalating financial risks. The rapid spread of these fiscal issues underscores the immense financial challenges faced by various regions in China, potentially having profound impacts on social stability and the political landscape. This situation has sparked questions about the stability of the Communist Party's rule. Surprisingly, despite the dire economic conditions, official statements claim that China's middle-income group has now exceeded 400 million. Recently, a program aired on China Central Television, featuring host Bai Yansong, in a discussion with Wang Yiming, vice chairman of the China Center for International Economic Exchanges. Bai asked, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, a monthly income over 3,000 yuan is considered middle income. China's middle-income group has surpassed 400 million. However, many don't feel they belong to this group and are quite resistant. What's your view on this phenomenon? In response, Wang Yiming noted that most in the middle-income group are close to the lower limit of the standard, with many just barely exceeding this threshold. Though they meet the criteria for middle income, they remain vulnerable. The reason for their reluctance to spend lies in concerns about education, healthcare, retirement, and savings. Some independent media personalities and netizens have expressed skepticism about this topic. It's been pointed out that a monthly salary of 3,500 yuan hardly suffices for a basic living in major cities, with expenses like mortgage, car loans, and children's tuition fees making life far from easy. How can such individuals be classified as middle income? Hu Ping, former honorary editor of the overseas political magazine Beijing Spring, suggests that the official middle-income statistics provided by the Communist Party might be exaggerated, and that different standards significantly impact the results. Analysts point out that China's economy faces challenges like the middle-income trap and stagnation in economic reforms. Additionally, international economic forecasting agencies have repeatedly lowered their growth predictions for China, compounded by factors like an aging population, presenting multiple economic challenges for the country. In this context, observers note that even Shenzhen, once the forefront of China's economic development, is now facing unprecedented economic and social difficulties. A video released by CEO Briefing on January 6 captures the current state of Heping Road in Longhua, Shenzhen, revealing a shocking scene. Once bustling streets are now filled with homeless people, not due to alcoholism or drug addiction, but hard-working laborers forced into homelessness by economic pressures. Netizens have noted that Shenzhen's rapid economic decline and the bursting of the real estate bubble have left migrant workers unable to afford housing, forcing them to sleep on the streets in the cold. The plight of these individuals highlights the severity of Shenzhen's economic woes and the real estate bubble burst, which are potentially more serious than anticipated. Some perspectives indicate that the high-rise buildings in various parts of China represent only superficial prosperity. The real issue lies in the imbalance of the tax and social welfare systems. The inability of workers, who have significantly contributed to society, to lead normal lives highlights the deep-rooted social issues China faces. Currently, not only public servants but also military and police personnel, the pillars of Chinese Communist Party's power, are facing salary cuts. This inevitably shakes the foundation of the party's rule, raising concerns about its future and leading to questions about the government's economic and political policies.